Hey everyone, welcome back to Control. Feels good to be making some progress at last, doesn't it? And we're back in the Containment Sector, because now that we are moving forward, there are a couple of things I need to wrap up. For one, I gotta get charge ready, just in case we see some demolition experts. And then, I realized that I got the last of Langston's items and forgot to tell him about it.
But no, why listen to Langston?
Every altered item on your list is now back in the Panopticon, safe and sound.
That's a load off my mind. Missing altered items don't exactly reflect well on me, you know. Did they give you any trouble?
The flamingo pulled me into the astral plane just like the fridge did. That same creature was there.
I was looking over the old activity reports, and multiple items have been displaying much more destructive behavior in the past few weeks. There's some connection there, I bet, but that's a bit above my pay grade.
Well, something to keep an eye on.
And if I have any more runaways, I'll know just who to call.
I guess this is my life now. I'll see you later, Langston.
I'll be here, like always.
Our working relationship could certainly be worse. Anyway, there's another thing that I collected along the way that I certainly want to go and check out. So before heading back to the transit corridor, which I think is the closest control point to where we were, I'm going to go back to Central Executive and change into this new suit that we found in the Prime Candidate program. The "I am not a number, I am a human being" suit. That's right, we get a gray jumpsuit just like Dylan's with the number 7. And I should check in with Emily while I'm here.
Interesting.
She's got something to say, at least.
How are you doing, Jesse? It can't be easy seeing Dylan like this.
I'm fine. What can you tell me? Is he still human? Or is he his?
I've taken numerous tissue samples and have tests running as we speak, but from the initial data, he looks healthy. I only see corruption in a superficial way.
What does that mean?
I don't know. This is all new, but if he's like you, maybe Polaris is preventing total Hiss takeover. Or maybe this is just a new form of Hiss. We've already seen how it affects people in different ways.
Dylan told me he let the hiss in. Does that change anything?
Voluntary conversion. I mean, hypothetically, that could affect the mental state post-corruption, as well as the extent of biological alteration. But again, this is new territory for me. I'll need time.
You won't have it. I'm gonna shut down this light projector. That's how the hiss are getting in. Once I close it, this should all be over.
Jesse, we don't know how this works. If you sever their connection to the source, it could cause a terminal chain reaction. Every Hiss-corrupted individual dead.
Better that than what Dylan is now. I'm shutting it down. This has to end. Whatever happens, happens.
Okay, just let me know how I can help.
Thank you, Emily.
And let's see if she has any other interesting topics.
Hi, Jesse.
Yep, in fact, this is all new.
I've been seeing these Darling presentations all over. Seems like he enjoys the limelight.
So you noticed, huh? When he recruited me out of college, he actually came to visit. He interrupted my physics course by shouting, "Not quite, Professor," and then marching down to the front of the class where he proceeded to berate the very idea of laws of thermodynamics. He's been a showboat all his life.
Darling visited you in college?
Yeah, he read a paper I'd published, came to recruit me for the Bureau. I accepted and then spent years waiting for access to the confidential research that Darling promised me. And whenever I ask about my access level, he just mumbles that it's temporarily postponed and then changes the subject to the effect of entropy on luck.
I wonder who else Starling hid his work from. Marshall? Trench? Have you learned anything about Dylan's condition?
Only that he's definitely hiss, but I guess his chanting made that pretty obvious. You know, interestingly, the words of the hiss incantation have an average length of 4 letters. The most common word used 7 times is want. The next most common are through and time. It's very interesting, don't you think?
I don't care about the words. What about my brother?
Right. Sorry, I got a little off track. Well, strangely, his tissue samples all look healthy, unlike the other hiss I've tested.
That's good news. Right? I wanted to talk to you about the crazy things I can do. My abilities. I get the sense that they're not very usual around here.
Well, usual and unusual aren't really benchmarks at the Bureau, but for some perspective, Director Northmore once used the floppy disk to send a bowling ball 6 yards through the air, and that was considered a huge deal. So compared to that, you are most certainly an outlier.
An outlier. I like the sound of that. I should get going.
Don't let me hold you up.
And just a quick check to make sure there aren't any new documents that have popped up. I think we've probably found all the ones that are going to appear in this room.
If they're in there and we go around that way. No. Hey, I put extra security on your brother. No offense, but that dude is the scariest motherfucker I have ever laid eyes on. Like I said, though, no offense.
I have to go.
Me too. You're not the only one who's busy, you know.
I don't imagine that Dylan will have anything new to say, but might as well check in on him while I'm here.
Restored HRA production. They're already getting other survivors out of safe rooms.
Great. Maybe I can get back to my office soon.
No,
A door to close on people.
you don't rush to get back to normal. You stay social distanced. Sorry, the real world is intruding again.
Happiness comes, white pearls, the yellow and red in the eye, through a mirror.
Look, we match. But he's not interested. Alright, back to business then. One more stop along the way, because we're running out of story beats for this final quest to become active. I know Ahti has one more thing for me to do. And if it doesn't come up now, it's not going to come up. Alright. I'll give him some time. Check back later. Well, at least we have some action here. And back to Pierce, because I still need to get headshots in the maintenance sector. It's just not going to be easy to do. I mean, Pierce is annoying for this kind of thing because it takes so long to charge and you've only got 2 shots. There's a mod in the DLC that actually would make something like this a lot easier. Unfortunately, that's a long way from now. I don't think I want this Bureau countermeasure to be sitting out until then. And I don't know why the first one was a headshot and the second wasn't. When it comes to headshots, I really don't know how this game judges it. And I suppose it's probably worth eating a rocket or 2 to the face in order to keep getting those charges. I don't think it's such a big deal if I die at this point, honestly. I've built up all the weapons that I think I really need to. Do need to collect some health, though. Okay, at least I scored a couple of headshots, and there's still... There we go. Someone's got to be lurking around. The music tells me so. It'd be nice if I could just indefinitely hold the charge, but it does eventually expend itself. I just don't get it. I don't think I ever will. Okay, no more diversions. Back to where we need to go. But instead of progress, I do want to look around this room, because all I've done here is clear the control point. And I don't know why, walking into this room, she goes into that hurt animation. I don't think you actually lose any health, and it clears up right away. But even if you've got the vaccine, she just curls up one time as you're entering the room, and then never again. Weirdest dang thing. Other than that, it's just a mold-filled room with a lot of stuff and a security lock that's meaningless because you can't get here without level 6 clearance. But the real prize is up here. Yep, a hidden location not too far out of the way. The ability point is the real prize this time, but it's also really neat to get this particular document. And more about the typewritten page that's straight out of Alan Wake, and confirmation that the two worlds of Control and Alan Wake are linked in whatever way it is that Emily Pope was trying to hint at when she talked about the different doors in the motel. Apparently, Alan Wake is behind the spiral one, just like we're behind the inverted black pyramid. And it's a good idea to make sure they didn't tuck any item crates behind the train cars here. Of course they didn't. Think I forgot which direction was fly for a minute there. But we have our 8 ability points. I can finally get multi-launch. This was the only ability that was added along with the second lot of DLC. And it lets us pick up to 3 things at the same time. Not only that, but my energy will continue to refill as long as I'm holding stuff, whereas before I had to throw it before I could start refilling. And do watch for flashing lights here, because there's an astral spike in the turntable room, and it's going to be here the whole time. We've got a lot of fighting to do in this room, so I definitely recommend you look away or skip ahead if you need to. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of hiss elevated. And yeah, throwing 3 things is not any more likely to hit them than throwing 1 thing. Although it is kind of nice for its ability to target more than one enemy with the same throw. If you've got 2 things that you're holding...
There's gotta be a way to rotate these tracks. Maybe there's a control panel nearby.
Yeah, I also don't understand how this mechanism works. Apparently the doors are tied to the rotating bridge, but the doors that are already open will stay open. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Whatever, we have to rotate the bridge. Another door covered over by mold. Fortunately, we don't need to go into it. Does seem like the sort of place they might hide another little cubby hole, but they didn't. And hey, it's the first part of the Work Chat trilogy. Note that you would have to go past the second part in order to get here and find the first part. You're meant to read them in the opposite order.
It won't rotate. Something's blocking it.
We finally got the bridge started, but there are mold pods blocking its rotation. Easy enough to clear out because they like to explode on their own. And as you can probably guess, there will be more of them at the other end. I'll just head over and take care of those in advance.
It won't rotate. Something's blocking it.
And that's all it takes. We finally complete our rotation. And I guess they could have put more sets of pods there, but that would be pretty pointless. And for no discernible reason, the door just opens right up as soon as the bridge is rotated. Looks like there's a different color up here, but I guess that's just a weird way that the lighting is hitting it. And we've got stairs that go down over there. More stuff has collapsed over on this side, but they still haven't hidden anything. No windows, but there is an item crate over here. And a picture of a hole in the wall. I think this was the first one that I actually discovered. Just because you can see the prompts behind the wall where the item crate is. I don't remember if I actually opened it at the time, though. I think I just saw the prompt over there and realized there was something going on and I didn't understand what it was. Yeah, this isn't the least bit creepy. We love going through underground machinery rooms. Now, of course, there would be an ambush, but fortunately it's just one hiss distorted. And I've now got the ability to throw a whole bunch of stuff at it all at once. I didn't even have to switch to spin. But let's check around here, because even the most innocuous of places can hide stuff. And this is probably the first cubbyhole most people are going to discover. Because you can see this chest from the outside, but you can't collect it. You have to reason that there's got to be some way to get in, and the only way to do it is around the back. Kinda thought maybe I'd gotten an upgraded mod for charge, but I didn't. Don't worry, the maintenance is only going to get worse when we get to the DLC, and there are about twice as many kinds of weapon mods. And every launch efficiency mod. Just all of them. Okay. Cleaned up, now back to business. We'll head across the other way just to make sure there's nothing hiding back here. There isn't. I think those areas are just to make the fight against the Hiss Distorted a little bit more interesting, since there are actually places to hide and it's not just a single straight corridor. don't believe I'm going to be going for a major targets mission in maintenance again anytime soon. I think I've had quite enough of those. I will keep my eyes out for other missions, though. Alright, so we've reached, I believe, the far side of the bridge behind some of those doors that wouldn't open. And we've got a bunch of power cores and a bunch of power sockets. This is a puzzle we've seen before, and an airplane that we've heard a lot about but haven't seen. You'd think they'd have hidden something here, like some reason for you to stand on top of the wing and use it as a way to get to something, but as far as I can tell, there's nothing here. It's just there to be the plane that's here. Can't break into those windows. In fact, I don't know whether we even get to that office. It might be someplace that we access from another area of the game, or it could just be there for background, same as everything else. Hey, for once, we have to come into the side room with the items because one of the power cores that we need is in there. Kind of makes you wonder why they bother putting stuff off the beaten track when it is exactly the beaten track. It's also kind of funny when you're carrying a power core and it keeps prompting you to pick up other stuff. I mean, I don't want to pick up anything else. It'll get in the way of the power core when I throw it. Here we go. This is the room I thought I was in when I got to the control point earlier. I don't know whether there are any demolitions experts among the hiss here. Not too concerned about it. I do think I should probably avoid using charge in close quarters. But there are a lot of big guys here. I need to take them out with maximum firepower. And I think I just managed to clip the corner of that wall. So back to the turntable and more flashing lights. I do try not to look directly at the astral spike, but I'm sure the flashing's gotta irritate some people, at least down the corner of your eye. I thought I heard some hiss appearing. And it is kinda convenient to just stand up here and watch the astral spike tear them all apart. I mean, I guess I could participate. I don't know whether I'm getting any source when, say, the hiss charged explode. But easy enough to deal with them. And while I probably shouldn't ram my face right into an enemy, I do want to go down and make sure there aren't any useful items. The hiss-distorted ambush was a one-time thing, so I don't think there are going to be any other significant obstacles getting back to the room where I died before. In fact, I don't think any other hiss ever appear in this particular machinery room. At least I don't think I've ever seen them, but I don't tend to pass through there very many times. And I know this elevator has to be a loading elevator, but I don't know why it takes so long to arrive. I mean, it's going to take the same amount of time for me to get to the destination, so surely they could be loading it now. Alright, take two. We're gonna just throw a bunch of stuff and not use explosives. It's just great to be able to hold the stuff and not have to worry about timing when I pick it up so that I'm not wasting energy. It does seem like the energy reload while I'm holding something is slower. I'm gonna capture this guy. Shield doesn't protect against that. Let him fight the named hiss. Of course, I love the shield charge. Another one of those great additions. I think the most important thing about this particular document, other than seeing that this is where Hubert has been working since he left the research department, is the confirmation that they bring altered items into the Bureau through the subway tunnels. We've heard a bit about that before, but I think that's the first report we've seen actually describing it. Not really sure what a lot of these rooms were about. But here we are at the ordinary AWE wing. Yeah, we've got a whole department set up just for this one event. Well, I tried to be stealthy. And here we go. The first in a series of documents actually describing the events of the ordinary AWE. Granted, we don't find them in order, and the level of detail is pretty small, but it's still neat to see some actual details about it. It's not just backstory.
You're listening to America Overnight, celebrating 29 years, shining a light in the shadows. Thank you for staying with us. Here's our first caller.
Hi. What I'm about to tell you, if they found out, I don't know what would happen.
If who found out, brother?
The men in the suits. They told me it was an industrial accident, but this is something else. Something nobody talks about. Ordinary.
This certainly doesn't sound very ordinary, caller.
No, not ordinary. Ordinary. It's a town. And it wasn't an industrial accident. I mean, that's what they said, but that's bullshit.
Whoa, please watch the language, caller. It may be 2 a.m., but we're still a family show.
I'm sorry. It's just, my brother lived there. They said the town was destroyed, but it wasn't. I went there. The people are gone, but the town's there. It's still there.
So the population of an entire town disappears, yet the town remains. Tell me, was the phrase, "there is no salvation," written anywhere?
I'm not sure.
The same thing happened in Brazil in 23, a village called Hor Verde. More than 600 people just up and left. The government said they were fleeing guerrilla forces, but we know the truth. A mass abduction, as predicted by my regular guest, Dr. Quincy Reagan.
Abduction? You mean aliens? That's bullshit! I know they're lying!
Now I warned you about the language, caller. I'm afraid we're gonna have to cut you off. And good timing, too. It's time for a short break. Hang in there. America Overnight will be right back.
Yeah, for once, the crazy people calling in may not have been crazy. The FBC probably was trying to clamp down on news about Ordinary. The thing that really strikes me about the Ordinary event, the way it's described in the game, is almost exactly out of a Stephen King novel. right down to the town of Ordinary being located in Maine. I'm not going to say that's a good thing or a bad thing, it's a lot like some of the Stephen King short stories I've read.
There is a curious correlation with the yet unknowable forces intruding upon our world, in the form of altered world events. These forces gravitate toward archetypal objects, a gun, a television, a supposedly haunted house. So clearly humanity affects this process. Our collective unconscious is a map of sorts. We hold the key, but we don't know how to use it. We create these archetypes through everyday life, popular culture, urban legends, but we are observing and influencing a complicated system in action. We can change the likelihood of something being a receptacle for these forces just by thinking about it. But we haven't found a method to control the outcome. And yet, there's something unique in us, in our dreams, in the conceptual reality with power with our minds. What's the cause and what's the effect? Are we the starting point or just a necessary evil in this? A byproduct, a reflection, a projection? We'll struggle to find the answers to these hard questions, or die trying.
In the first Uncontrolled podcast, I mentioned that Dr. Darling had some thoughts about the collective unconscious being the cause for altered items, and that was it. And here we have a document from near the end of the AWE. Again, we're going to be finding these very out of order. It's kind of neat at the end to put them back in order and, read the story start to finish. But it's still missing a lot of details because it's all put together from interviews after the fact. Meanwhile, we're right around the corner from the next control point. But still more stuff to pick up. It's kind of neat they don't really tell us whether this not mother is associated with the hiss or not. And I don't know if there are any conclusions to draw. I guess I kinda got the jump on that one. No threat though. So let's listen to this last recording and then end things here.
Annual evaluation of Dylan Faden, formerly P6, performed by Dr. Carla Vaughn. The questions asked here correspond to the 5th iteration of the gunner's psychological assessment. Are you ready, Dylan? Let's begin then. In a single word, describe the world around you.
Where's Casper?
Dr. Darling is out of the building today.
He's never out. He didn't want to come, did he? He never visits, not since Roberts. Tell Darling it wasn't my fault. I couldn't control it yet, but I can now. I learned. Will you tell him?
In a single word, describe the world around you.
A prison. A cold, empty prison. Not even a poster on the wall.
Mm-hmm. What is the next number in the sequence 3, 6, 9, 12, 15?
18.
What day is it today?
How the hell would I know? It's not like you give me a calendar.
You find a rabbit in the woods. It is breathing, but not moving. You cannot see any blood. What do you do?
Leave it.
Expand on that.
It doesn't matter. The rabbit's not real. None of it's real.
What day is it today?
Do you enjoy asking people questions that can't be answered? Is this what gets you up in the morning? What you dreamed of doing as a scared, stupid little girl?
Can you describe a dog to me?
In Ordinary, we had a friend. Nosebleed Neil.
And when it all went crazy, you know what I mean. Nosebleed Neil turned into a dog. Or something like a dog.
What day is it tomorrow?
Fuck off! I don't know! There is no calendar! How can I fucking know?
Dylan, calm down.
Fuck you! Fuck you and fuck Casper! Hey! Are you watching this, you old fuck? Did you send your bitch because you're too scared of me? Where is Casper?
Security, get a team in here. I need...
A couple of actually interesting things to note about that recording. For one, obviously, another sighting of Carla post-Casper. Dylan also mentioned the prison specifically being devoid of posters, which is kind of an interesting callback to the opening monologue of this game. And another mention of the gunner's psychological assessment that was mentioned in one of the documents that we found in the lobby. That's how they evaluate people who wander into the Bureau uninvited. Anyway, I don't think we've got any other supplementary materials or interesting videos to watch. Yeah, we saw the Darling presentation, America Overnight, so we'll head on and learn more about the ordinary AWE next time.